Good evening, everyone. So, as you all are quite aware of today's topic, that is COVID and how it impacted basically like teenagers in their lives. So, I guess all of you, majority of us are from the age group like 17 to 21 or something. It's like it's not exactly teenage, but like it's transition to adulthood. So, but like it's still a transition and how it impacted us. So, I guess our today's topic is very close to all of us, I guess, and I expect we'll all have better discussions on it. Pankuri, you there?
Yeah, okay. So, hello everyone. Good evening. So, today we will be discussing about COVID and teenagers. I always say that due to Corona, person from every age group is suffering and anyone can be infected by Corona. But today, as we are going to talk particularly about teenagers, so let's focus on it only. Being a teenager is difficult no matter what, and this pandemic is making it even more difficult due to the school closure, cancelled events. We should agree that the teens are missing out some of the biggest moments of their young lives. And also the everyday activities like gossiping with friends, participating in class, and whatnot. All of the sudden, everything got online, and teens are spending their school lives at home. And it's almost 1.5 year, I think, since they are packed up in a home. It's not easy. It's not easy for any one of us. All of these things led them to a disturbed peace of mind, and they are facing a life challenges due to the outbreak. That's why they are facing mental illness, like you can say depression, panic attack, anxiety, and it's genuine. Somehow we all are facing these kind of mental illness. But according to the report, teenagers are the ones who are facing this the most. The teenagers should understand that if you feel anxious due to the school closure or these alarming headlines which we are getting from the news channels, so it's normal. There is nothing to worry about. And they should remember that they are not the only one. See, everyone is facing the same issue. Everyone is facing this pandemic. So they are not the only one. Psychologists have long recognized that being anxious is normal and healthy, and which alerts us to threats, and you can say which help us to take measures to protect ourselves. So it's normal. And many teenagers are also getting anxious if they are getting facing any COVID symptoms. And I would suggest to that they should discuss it with their parents or any trusted adults. And I would also like to mention here that the COVID infection is generally mild, especially in the young adults and children, you can say, and many symptoms can be treated as much I have heard about it. So you can, it's not about to be get very anxious, no. And teenagers are facing these mental illnesses also because they are not able to meet up their friends, they are not able to spend time with them. We are facing a situation where we can't do anything, and we are helpless here. We have to follow the lockdown, we have to follow the guidelines, and have to maintain the social distancing, of course. But although we are lucky, we are in a technical era, we can connect with our friends at any time, anywhere. So social media is a great tool to connect up with your friends. But also I would like to say that teenagers should not be allowed to use social media a lot, especially in this time. It's because so much of the rumors, and you are seeing the rumors and the fake news are spreading all along, which are disturbing our peace of mind. And not only of the teenagers, many of us are also facing a disturbed peace of mind because all of these things. So I think we should avoid it as much as we can. Okay, that's really true. Missing out with friends, hobbies, and of course the sport matches is incredibly disappointing. They are really upsetting, and rightly so, to teenagers. Of course, they are the large scale losses, you can say. But now the question arises: is there anything which can be done to overcome it? So I would say the best way to deal with these kind of disappointment is to let yourself feel it. When it comes to having a painful feeling, the only way is to go through it. Go ahead and be sad. And if you can let yourself be sad, you will feel better, much better soon. So be sad. Don't hesitate in being sad. It's normal. I have read this somewhere and it was quite impressive. And I will not say only the teenagers, but we all can also follow it and should apply it. See, facing a difficulty is much way better than running away from it. So let's stand together and play a role of a support system for each other. And then only we can fight up with this corona, and this pandemic is going to be end soon. All of these things, all I want to say, thank you. Thank
I
you.
guess Pankuri, you presented in a very graceful and very informative way. You covered all the topics. I had some
Thank
questions, but
you.
covered it. So great, well done.
Yeah,
Next, we're gonna move on to Rohit.
thank you.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Am I visible as well right now?
Yes.
Okay, so the topic today is teenagers and the COVID pandemic. As Pankudi just mentioned, being a teenager as it is a difficult task. It's the transition towards an adulthood filled with challenges and a lot of issues, including how our career shapes up to be and how we go on with our social relations and other activities. So the pandemic has affected all of this in equal parts during the pandemic, and it is nonetheless very challenging. For example, the online classes, even though some make utter like amazing use of it, the others, we are not comfortable with it. For me, an aspiring media student, what I am missing right now is on-field experience. The seniors who are the seniors who are studying the same course as me, they went to the field and took interviews, met up with people, made a lot of connections. But what am I doing right now? I'm sitting in front of Google Classroom, maybe MS Teams at max, nothing else. So that is a huge challenge which the pandemic puts forward. And I'm sure that most of the people right now who are in this internship program are aspiring anchors, as myself. And we are missing out on huge crowds, which we could have hosted all this while. It's been a year and a half. I'm just thinking about how much stages I have missed. Like I have used it a couple of times during the Google Meets or other platforms, maybe Zoom also. But then it's not just the same vibe as when you stand up to a huge crowd and then you take the mic. It's just a different energy. We are missing out on that too. But maybe other people, who are trying to improvise their other skills like say arts or drawing or singing, maybe they could use this time in an effective manner and then be a better person, a better artist at their art. But that's just not possible for me. I don't have huge crowds at home to practice, so that is a huge barrier which the pandemic puts forward to many people like me. But then that barrier is being used as an advantage by some of my friends. I have seen that too. And I would like to disagree with one thing which Pangudi said, that the use of social media is causing adverse effects on teenagers. But I would disagree with it and say that the best thing to happen in the 21st century is in fact social media. Because just imagine what would happen if we didn't have social media. How could we even connect with the 2 to 4 friends that we do right now? No one. It's just the people in our homes who we will be talking to if there was no social media during the pandemic. So yeah, and also about the fake news, I think it's not the teenagers who are getting pulled into the fake news spectrum. It's rather the older generations which are being pulled and being used as a pawn in the fake news game. It's the teenagers, in fact, debunking the myths and proliferating the truth from the lies. So I would say that the teenagers are making excellent use of social media during such difficult times. So social media is somewhat of the best thing to happen right now. I can't imagine a time where we didn't have social media or smartphones, playing Snake maybe on our Nokia phones during the pandemic for 1.5 hours, 1.5 years. It's just too much to imagine for me. It's just not possible for me. So I would say that the social media is something good to happen right now. And I said the online colleges and the other things. How would we even conduct college without such technology and social media, without WhatsApp? How do we even coordinate that? It's out of question. So the educational system would have flattered like fallout flats or domino towers. It's just done without social media. So I would say the social media usage is a right thing to do, and an excellent thing. But just that, even though I know I generalized a bit when I said teenagers are not getting pulled into fake news, there are some people, but then that's only a part of the game. You can't be a utopian society. It's just a vision. It's not possible. We know that. So yeah, that is the pandemic, and that is how teenagers are facing it. Some are stuck in it, looking forward to how we are going to pan out, how our careers are going to pan out. But then some others are making excellent use of it. But one thing is for sure, that the pandemic is going to play. Whether it's going to stop in any year, I don't know. But whenever it stops, I'm sure that it will have an everlasting impact on all of our lives. Whoever went through the pandemic will have had a mark on their life. That's what I'm sure of. Then that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree with your point on missing out on field experience, as I am as well. I could have interacted with a lot many patients and I could have clinical rotations, but I'm not having any. But also, like as you mentioned, the social media point, I think social media has both its pros and cons. It goes a little deeper. We cannot talk about it in a generalized form, I feel like. So yeah, but it was
Yeah,
well
as I
done.
put, everything has a flip side. But then I feel if not for social media, the entire system which is in place right now during the pandemic, whether it be the preventive measures, coordinating through social media, spreading, let's just ignore false news for a second, but then just say, like, take the real news. How is it getting to the masses? It's getting through it's getting through our phones, the smartphones, the platforms, the social media, FB, Instagram, whatever you use. It's getting to us through those platforms, along with the false news. But then we have to be, we have to think for ourselves in that aspect. Everything has a
So
flip
what
side, but
you,
I think the bright side is much, much brighter than the dark side right here.
yeah, as you mentioned this, I had this one thought pop up in my head. What do you think? How can we communicate in the remote areas where there is no social media at all? Like, how do we make them more aware? You know?
That's one thing. Like, one distant thing we could do is, make technology accessible in such areas, but on short term it's just not possible. So we are left with no other option but rather than to go there in person, maybe the government officials, maybe the authorities, just to go there in person and then counsel them or make them aware, take awareness classes. That's the only option we are left with. There's honestly nothing much else to do there. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, actually, people are doing that. Government officials or many medical staff, they're actually doing that. But right now, to be honest, like um, I have heard a lot about it. They're facing a lots and lots of issues because there's so much of myth and so much of false rumor that specifically people living in remote areas, they do believe in that. I don't know why, but like yeah, so that's kind of a glitch, I would say. So next, thank you, Rohit. You presented it in a very informative way, very well presented, very well spoken
My pleasure.
again, very impressive. So next we have Ravina.
Hi everyone. So today we're going to talk about COVID in teenagers. The COVID-19 pandemic has meant living through multiple crises, including financial, this is related all at once. It has affected all of us very, very badly, be it physical or mental health. But a poll from CS More Children's Hospital shows that the mental health effects of pandemic are more likely to have a significant impact on teenagers. The restrictions of the pandemic have been felt across the board. For teenagers, restrictions have meant months of virtual learning, more time isolated from friends, and the cancelling of important social events like sports, school performances. Teenagers facing life changes due to outbreak are feeling anxious, isolated, and disappointed. According to a report, 46% of parents say their teens had shown signs of a new or worsening mental health condition since the beginning of the pandemic. Teenage years are filled with physical, emotional, and cognitive changes. There are also hormonal shifts, more independence, responsibility, and peer challenges. The impact of the pandemic on teens has been immediate and deep. They are also worried about their educational future. Access to the education has become challenging as they are being asked for remotely through digital tools to get the education. And according to UNESCO, 830 million children don't have access to a computer at home and can't access online learning. So it is also a sad reality. In situation of this crisis, there is an increase in school dropouts. Anxiety is about falling back on school, and the consequences of this for their inspiration futures are real fears. So, what can parents do for their children in this time? First thing they can do is keeping communication open while giving them space, still giving their children space as much as they need, and communicate with them as much as they can. And relaxing family rules and encouraging better sleep schedules. Apart from this, I think COVID-19 just not have negative impacts, but it has positive impacts too on teenagers. Like they are getting more sleep, and they are like they don't have that much pressure of academics on themselves. I think this is a positive impact of COVID-19 on teenagers in their lives. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Yeah, Ravina, it
Sorry
was,
to interrupt. Hello. Am I
yeah,
audible?
yes.
Actually, I have to leave the meeting. I have some emergency. I have to leave it.
It's
Uh,
okay, Smith.
Yeah.
yeah, Ravina, you could. I just wanted to ask one question.
Yeah.
So basically, like as you mentioned, obviously I agree with that point. As you said, communication is the main agenda we can go through to express our feelings with our parents and everything. That's fine. But like not many children or not many teenagers are very open with their parents, especially in the Indian society. Because so, what do you think about that? Specifically children who are maybe shy, they're not very interactive. So what do you think, how can they cope up with the pandemic situation?
See, I think like yeah, some children are not open with their parents, but I think they are open with their friends. They are more like more free with their friends, so they can talk to their friends. They can just call them and have some chats and talkings. I think that will help.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for your inputs, Ravina.
Thank you.
Next, I guess
Just a minute.